Welcome to World Insight. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. The United States Supreme Court has delivered a stunning blow to Donald Trump, sending shockwaves through Washington and far beyond. The city, already tense with anticipation, was rocked by the news as it broke, with politicians, pundits, and citizens all scrambling to make sense of what had just happened. On November 14, 2025, the highest court in the land made a decision that will echo for years, perhaps even decades, into the future. The ruling was not just a footnote in history, it was a turning point. This wasn't just another legal battle, it was a moment that stopped the nation in its tracks. Crowds gathered outside the courthouse, their faces a mix of hope, anger, and disbelief. The verdict defied expectations, challenging long-held assumptions about presidential power and accountability. Legal experts immediately began dissecting the implications, while lawmakers braced for the fallout. For Trump, it's a political bombshell with vast implications for his image, his legacy, and his future ambitions. The decision threatens to reshape how he is remembered in American history. The decision strikes at the very heart of his legacy, creating a crisis unlike any before. It raises questions about the limits of power and the meaning of justice in America. It's more than a legal ruling, it's a statement that no one, not even a former president, is above the law. The symbolism is as powerful as the legal consequences. The 9 justices have spoken, and their words carry the full weight of the nation's authority. Their decision will be studied and debated for generations. For Trump's supporters, it feels like betrayal. For critics, vindication. The country is split, emotions running high on both sides of the divide. The verdict draws a new line into the sand, leaving the future uncertain and the nation at a crossroads. The repercussions will be felt in every corner of American society. This story is woven from accusation, denial, and a relentless pursuit of justice. It's a tale of power, reputation, and the search for truth. It involves a famous writer, a powerful politician, and the collision of 2 very different worlds. And it all began with an alleged encounter decades ago, long before the world was watching. To understand today's decision, we must revisit the origins of the case. We'll unpack the history, the people, and the events that set this extraordinary legal journey in motion. And we'll trace the long, winding legal road that led all the way to the Supreme Court's doors. This is the story of how a personal claim became a national spectacle. The consequences are world-changing, and the world is watching. Let's go back to where it all began, and uncover how this moment came to define an era. E. Jean Carroll, a well-known writer and longtime advice columnist, accused Donald Trump of sexually abusing her in a Manhattan department store in the 1990s. At the time, Carroll was a prominent figure in New York media circles, and Trump was already a high-profile real estate mogul. Carroll kept the story private for decades, confiding only in a couple of close friends. But in 2019, as the Non-Me Too movement gained momentum and more women spoke out, she decided to go public with her account, publishing it in a memoir and speaking to the press. Trump immediately denied ever meeting her, calling her story a complete fabrication and insisting he had no idea who she was. He publicly attacked Carroll's credibility, dismissing her claims as politically motivated lies. In response, Carroll sued Trump for defamation, arguing that his public denials and insults had ruined her reputation and career. The legal battle quickly became a high-profile case, drawing national attention. This lawsuit became the first of 2 major legal battles between Carroll and Trump, setting the stage for a lengthy and contentious fight in the courts. The case was about more than just the alleged incident. It was about the power of a president to discredit an accuser, and whether the legal system could hold a sitting or former president accountable for personal conduct. In 2022, a new law in New York, the Adult Survivors Act, gave survivors of sexual assault a 1-year window to file civil lawsuits, even for decades-old incidents. This allowed Carroll to file a second lawsuit against Trump for sexual abuse and defamation. This second case quickly escalated, eventually reaching the Supreme Court, where the stakes were even higher and the legal questions more complex. The trial became a media circus, drawing intense public scrutiny. Carroll gave emotional testimony, joined by 2 other women, Jessica Leeds and Natasha Stoynoff, who also accused Trump of sexual misconduct, adding weight to her claims. The infamous Access Hollywood tape, in which Trump was heard making lewd comments about women, was shown to the jury, suggesting a possible pattern of behavior and further fueling the controversy. Trump's legal team argued there were no eyewitnesses or physical evidence to support Carol's story, and claimed her motives were political, aiming to damage Trump's reputation as he sought re-election. Despite these arguments, in 2023, a jury found Trump liable for sexual abuse and defamation, ordering him to pay Carol $5 million in damages, a landmark verdict with far-reaching implications. This was the verdict Trump's team desperately wanted overturned, launching a series of appeals and legal maneuvers to challenge the outcome. The stakes were enormous, with the nation watching every move. The case became a symbol of the broader struggle over accountability for powerful men accused of misconduct. Ultimately, the case became a test of credibility, justice, and accountability at the highest level of American society. And now, with the Supreme Court set to weigh in, the final chapter in this historic legal battle is about to be written. The Supreme Court issued its decision with quiet finality, a moment that carried enormous weight for all involved. In a decisive move, the court declined to hear Trump's appeal, effectively ending a long and closely watched legal battle. This wasn't a ruling on guilt or innocence. It was a refusal to reconsider the case, signaling that the lower court's decision would stand unchallenged. By doing so, the $5 million verdict against Trump stands as the final word, with no further opportunity for reversal or delay. There are no more appeals, no more legal avenues. The doors to the highest court in the land have closed on this case for good. Many expected the court might intervene, given the high-profile nature and Trump's influence, but the justices chose not to step in. Even with 3 Trump appointees on the bench, the justices declined to take up the case, underscoring the independence of the judiciary. Their silence is a powerful statement. No significant legal error warranted review, and the process had been fair and thorough. The jury's verdict in New York is now validated by the nation's highest court, lending it even greater authority and finality. The Supreme Court didn't say Trump was guilty, they simply said no to his request for another review, closing the door on further debate. The legal process, from jury to Supreme Court, is now closed. Every step has been exhausted, and the outcome is set in stone. The $5 million judgment is final and enforceable, marking a significant moment in legal and political history. Trump's legal team's last hope has been shattered, leaving them with no further recourse or strategy to pursue. The finding of liability for sexual abuse and defamation is now a permanent part of history, recorded in the official record for all to see. The gavel has fallen, closing this chapter with the silence of finality, and the consequences will echo far beyond the courtroom. The impact is immediate and absolute, sending a clear message about accountability and the enduring power of the rule of law. The Supreme Court gave no detailed explanation for declining the case, standard practice in such situations. To be heard, a case must present a significant federal question or show lower court disagreement. Trump's lawyers argued the trial was unfair, citing prejudicial evidence and lack of physical proof. The justices saw no compelling legal error. The lower courts had already ruled the evidence permissible to show a pattern of behavior. The Supreme Court's refusal signals respect for the jury's role as decider of credibility. The justices saw no novel legal issue requiring their attention. By declining, they affirmed the legal process worked as intended. The verdict stands because the court found no reason to question it. The Supreme Court's decision is a political earthquake for Trump. He must pay $5 million, but the real damage is to his reputation. He's now legally liable for sexual abuse. This verdict gives opponents a powerful weapon and puts immense pressure on his allies. It could fracture his support base, especially among moderate voters. The decision complicates his political future and casts a long shadow over his leadership. It also sets a precedent for other legal battles, including a much larger defamation judgment. The aura of legal invincibility around Trump is gone. For supporters, the news is unsettling. For critics, it's a moment of accountability. The Supreme Court's refusal to intervene forces everyone to confront a new reality. The Supreme Court's decision has ignited fierce reactions along partisan lines. Trump and his team condemned the verdict, calling it a politically motivated attack. They continue to question Carol's credibility and claim the justice system is weaponized. For them, this is another example of a deep state conspiracy. Critics see the decision as a landmark for accountability, proof that no one is above the law. Carroll's legal team has let the verdict speak for itself. Advocacy groups for survivors hail the decision as a victory and a message that powerful people can be held accountable. The nation remains divided, with each side seeing either persecution or justice. The war of words is far from over. With the Supreme Court's final word, a new chapter begins. The verdict will haunt Trump's political future, giving opponents a potent line of attack. It sets a grim precedent for his other legal battles, including a massive defamation case. The legal walls are closing in, one case at a time. The Republican Party faces a crossroads: stand by Trump or distance themselves. Supporting him means aligning with a man found liable for sexual abuse. Abandoning him risks alienating his base. The future is uncertain and uncharted. A former president now carries a permanent legal finding of liability. This verdict will be studied for generations. Only time will tell if this is a turning point or just another controversy in Trump's career.